All right, we are now live.
Alright. Hi
With,
everyone. I'm here today with Matt Toole of Toole Sculpture Works, and we're going to check out his installation in the R&B pop-up gallery at Sulfur. It's called Somewhere Along the Continuum. So, all is inside.
After you.
So this is an interactive installation by Matt, and as I said, it's called Somewhere Along the Continuum. Matt, do you maybe want to talk about that title a little bit?
Well, the title is referencing just how it's kind of an existential thing and how we exist in a scale in a micro and a macro sense. And we as human beings in our world, it exists somewhere along a much larger continuum. And that could explain our existence or leave us with many questions that go unanswered. But the title suggests an enormous vastness, and I want to bring kind of a relationship of everything that is interrelated to the vastness. So while there's, you see repetition in nature, you see like our blood streams are like rivers and streams, physical properties move the same, trees they breathe for the planet, our lungs are shaped the same way. There's a lot of relationships and consistencies within this world, and then perhaps our solar system is just like a nucleus in a much larger organism. It folds in on itself a number of times, which is part of the reason to select this, not just recycled cardboard, but it has so many surfaces and so many different dimensions itself. And it's kind of like, and I was referencing that mitochondrial kind of folding to absorb light and information and just be vast and busy and give you this sense that you're inside a little world. And we just walked into this little world, and we're going to explore some other little worlds.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this element of scale and micro, macro, and worlds within worlds seems very important. And you have this brilliant idea too about the continuum and this blurring of art and life in your studio. Do you maybe want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, and this is an extension of my studio. And when we were talking earlier, just you and I see the studio as kind of my, it's the nucleus, it's the hive, and I organize my space in a similar fashion. It's busy. I'm a collector. My wife says hoarder, but it's not yet a problem. And collecting these objects, I still organize them in such a way so that I can experience them. And I have this thought that the closer to the core of my built environment has more of the precious materials that are thought about and considered on a daily basis, and then further away from that core, things tend to become sparse and unravel, and then they become part of everything else. But my little world, my little studio, which is a great place to be most of the time, my little studio is my nucleus, and the artwork just is constant, even if I'm not making art objects and I'm just using my skills to build for another designer. It's still, the space is a work in progress. It is an evolutionary space, as our living spaces are. It changes, evolves, devolves into different things all the time. But this is an extension of my studio in its busyness, but also in its order. There's a level of order and then a certain degree of chaos, and they coexist.
Yeah, that's just a fascinating way of thinking about the continuum and the objects you surround yourself with, and the importance of collecting. So on that note, maybe let's dive into some of these little boxes and see what we have going on.
Sure. So I want, in that interactiveness, I want people to have experiences, and they'll all be unique to the viewer. And I want that experience to be different every door that you open. And this is very much about repetition of material, industrial material that has been made in such a way that so it is made more precious. This shadow box is just commentary on, former leadership and the sickening perception of that as quality leadership. And I have the derriere is facing out because that's generally the attitudes that are present in this particular Chia Pet installation. That's a Chia Pet. But so I wanted the inside of the windows to be works of art. The outside of the windows are paintings. The object that is the wall that comes in, closes down the space. Then you open these up and they have different depths and dimensions and perceptions of dimension with the mirroring effect. And then I want to bring in these senses of more space, and then there's also kind of a sense of personal reliquaries, these items that I'm attaching kind of a preciousness to, or did I say mystical preciousness?
Mystical preciousness, yeah.
Because it's just, that's a perceived thing as well. Mm-hmm. And we can use materials to kind of talk about preciousness, and gold has its relevance to precious, and diamonds, and different types of precious metals, precious gemstones. They're not really, they're just rocks and bits of metal. But I'd take some if they were but it's not there. We have attached meaning to those things and given them value. That's just all human construct. And these are human constructs, or moments in time. Let's see the lights on in there. And they're just moments in time. This one being a bit more of a literal scale, talking about could be a day in a life, a night where there's been some music playing and libations consumed. Kind of like that's kind of like a Rothko painting of old chipped wood. So I just want people to have, and they will have, a myriad of experiences just based on their own personal subjective experiences from life. This is very much also about this particular one is very much about monuments, and what imagine a small monument might, down the line, it could be built in a much, much larger scale. Real Pennsylvania anthracite.
Yeah, you talked too about this, like the idea of sentimentality feeding into it and histories of objects. And then there's that element of collaboration. So, a couple of these you were talking about the stories with your assistants of putting these together.
Yes. So Michelle and Tara, two ladies that work with me at Toole School, which we like to call it, they were absolutely, they were the driving factor that made this happen on time. So Michelle and I were painting. I wanted to have these clear but translucent surfaces that were painterly. And Michelle grabbed the brush and put it into a drill. And we started doing these. This was the first one, and she made these little marks. I was like, that's great. And so I took it, and I put another brush in and did different marks. And Tara took it, and she made some even different style of marks. And so they're exercising their creative capabilities in this collaborative effort. And then, so as we were crafting the insides of the box, the wall took so much time, we were we were trying to create these experiences in the boxes. This one, Michelle grabbed a bunch of these mechanical rings that go inside of the transmission of a car, and this kind of talks about the universal machine and the way that the big mechanism works. And again, going back to those relationships of life and materials, and the natural, and then the machine or the human made. And we model many of our machines on actual functions of organisms, in a lot of ways. And that gets a little heady and esoteric, but this one is very much about order and reason, and then chance, and having and I'm going to admit that is from my Dungeons and Dragons days when I was a 8-year-old, 10-year-old boy. So that's the 20-sided die, and the die represents chance, oftentimes, and that's kind of where it exists. Things happen sometimes by chance. We have some control and should work hard to get what we want and get where we want to be, but there's a lot of chance. Just think about how many asteroids have passed us by. How many have made contact before we as humans were here? So again, vastness and scale, and everybody's going to have a different experience. And I think about the mechanisms. You think about, I was just talking about how we model machines on how living organisms. We have hinges. Our bones, our knees are hinged, and knuckles. They're similar mechanisms in the organic and then the inanimate objects. So this is like a combination of those with pattern, with the kind of the life that existed, and now it is kind of a monument to it, and it's reanimated in some ways. And death is a necessary component of life. One cannot exist without the other. So,
Yeah.
I get lost.
Let's see. Really great artist Nikisha Jones says this is really cool. I just wanted to share that.
Awesome.
You're getting a lot of love for this.
Thank you. I hope it's making sense. And it's just a matter of exploring different storylines. I mean, this is like taking a hike in the woods, and Tara made this one, and we just had conversations about the material, about the composition, and we're also again back to making these kind of monuments. So this is kind of a monument. This is a bit of a monument of sort, and that's the preciousness that we're putting into it. We're attaching the precious, and this object is actually something that exists in an airstrip, so that pilots can see the light that shines through them from all altitudes. And that's the way that's cut. And that was cut by some company, and it's acrylic. And a friend of the studio brought it by, and it actually, the light comes through it and it lights up, but the batteries are dead, so got to change those.
We have a question from an audience member. Grayson asks, will the scenes in the box change over time?
Yes. Yes. I have other boxes that I'm working on, and that was part of the evolution. Some of these spaces might get some interventions in. I called an artist friend yesterday to ask if he might be interested in doing something. And then I'm thinking of all of my artist friends in town who I'd like to collaborate with, and these could be opportunities to open it up to other people to interact with it, not just me, because between myself, Michelle, and Tara, we've put a lot of insight and artistic sweat equity into this, and maybe it would be a good collaboration to ask others, and a cheap way to get them to come in and see my work. But maybe, yeah, the intent was for it to continually change, which is going back to that same thing that happens in our living spaces and our working spaces. This space can continue to grow, evolve, maybe devolve. Maybe it's not as interesting, but I think that interaction is important to me, because that's it gives the artwork a different kind of life. So thanks for the question, Grayson.
Yeah, and I do want to ask anybody who's watching, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, I think that interactive element that you're talking about, and the continual evolution between like people experiencing it differently, and then the different objects that your assistants are responding to in different ways. You're talking about order and chaos in this piece, and I think that seems to play into a lot of it too, because you're taking the chaos of what's in your studio and finding some sense of order with it.
Trying desperately to find some order, and to some degree, one thing, just like color changes when you place it next to a different color. Words and their meaning can change by being placed next to different words. So objects have that same power of communication. And this being an underground cable that's just a cross section cut out, same as that cable up here. And these are bobbins from a sewing machine, and this kind of looks like kind of an imperial round table that might be, where, and a very evil organization has meetings. These are the little narratives that go through my mind. Because, if that was something, if we were small enough to sit and we had that kind of scale, whatever that organism would have been, that actually is a raccoon, but and cow parts, and then the mandibles from a deer, so it's all different animals once living. But if we were really that big, and that were a boardroom inside, name your corporation. Sorry, some corporations are good. Cindy gets on to me for that, but yeah, there's all kinds of different kind of patterns that I want to play with, and you see some repeating themes with these machine parts that are in a few other boxes. The painterly quality that we made discoveries with the rotary tool. Pressing, I press flowers. So yeah, I'm a knuckle dragger metal sculptor that loves cats, dogs, and presses flowers. So it's anything's open for that. But we did this little library for the dairy, and these are milk crates from the dairy where my studio is located, and that place is just filled with old machines and pipe and conveyor belts and things that were part of that business for so many years. And now it's an art studio, so we made a little library for the Flannery O'Connor book trail, and then Emily and John reached out after seeing it on Instagram, and so I thought, well, let's recreate the little doors, because in the library we have 3 of these stacked up. We call it the incubator, and it's at the dairy when you come in on the left, and it's filled with books. So the lower one's got younger kids' books, the middle one has kind of older kid books, and then the top one has more, I'm not going to say adult books, but they are bigger themes and topics that adults would read. So that's what the basket, or the milk crate, that's how it came to be in this piece, was through that other sculpture, which is an interactive, take a book, leave a book, kind of interactive. So we wanted to expand on that interactivity and bring it in with this packaging material, which I see all kinds of things in the packaging material. Certainly the repetition, the texture, it has this sense of stone. It is certainly something that is used to package our goods and materials. And I have a great working relationship with the Recycling Center for Chatham County. In fact, had a show with them last year. And Josh Gary's got his work out there now. He's also in the Renew show. So that's where I got to meet Josh. But I called and said, do you guys have any more of this cardboard? And they had piles of it. So I was able to go out and add to my collection of, so this takes up space, as you can imagine, but I have a bunch of it. And it's such a great texture. I love the panels and how they work.
Yeah, it really does add so much visual interest to this, and I love that idea you're talking about, like the reinvention of function, the reconsideration of function, like the former lives that these objects had, that the crates had, and like giving them a new purpose.
Yeah.
So I think it's brilliant.
Thank you.
I think we're probably coming to the end of our time. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat.
Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, thank you. Be sure to come by and check this out. You can check it out 24 hours a day through our Bull Street windows, or come and interact with it Thursday through Sunday, noon to 5. And it's in conjunction with Renew, which is an exhibition in our main gallery right now, and it's all highlighting repurposed materials. Matt, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Sam. I appreciate it. It's been everybody with Sulfur has been really supportive and inspiring. So created a good opportunity to kind of interact creatively with you guys, and I appreciate that. So it's good.
Thank you. It's great to have you.
All right. Okay. One last look. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching this episode of Sulfur Artist Talks. Sulfur Studios is a project of Arts Southeast, a nonprofit whose mission is to make Savannah a destination for art and culture in the Southeast by supporting established and emerging artists, engaging a diverse community with creative programming, and developing awareness and appreciation of the arts. This content is made possible by viewers like you. If you'd like to support our mission, please visit us at www.sulfurstudios.org to learn more. You can also reach out to us via email at info@sulfurstudios.org. On behalf of Sulfur Studios, I wish you well and hope to see you next time. Thank you.